It's going. Camera's on. There we are. Action. Hi everybody. So look, I got Vox amps. We have Vox amps that came in. This is kind of a cool amp. A 64 Vox. This is perhaps even cooler in that it's about a 62 Vox candy panel. You know, we're having a hard time since the problems with Russia and the invasion of Ukraine. It's hard to get tubes, so tube prices have gone way up. And you know, I've done this before, but different shapes, different bottles of tubes will produce different tones. Your bigger EL34s will produce a different tone than an EF86 or a smaller tube. So, you know, and it's kind of like blowing into a bottle. That has a different sound than the bigger tube. If I could do this. Get it? Yeah, so there's my little demonstration about tubes, and you're going to put, basically, a vacuum tube is you're putting voltage in it, you're putting high voltage in it too. So you never want to try to fix a tube amp yourself. And the biggest cause for an amp that starts sounding fatigued, or an amp that just doesn't sound kind of blah, is power tubes. And power tubes need to be replaced, and they should be biased too. An over-biased amp will sound kind of dirty at any level. So if it's over-biased, it doesn't have enough voltage going into it. And if it's under-biased, it's going to lack a lot of punch. So an under-biased amp will lack a lot of punch. So you want somebody like us to do the biasing for you on your amplifier. And Vox amplifiers, you know, there's basically most designers, most of the new amp manufacturers are making amps that are Vox-based, which are Class A. And that means the tubes are all on all the time. Fender amplifiers, which is a part of the next video, and there is more of a teeter-totter where the tubes go back and forth with voltage and they're just kind of pushing it back and forth. That is called an A-B circuit. These are Class A amps. And then there's the Marshall, which got a little more grit and grind and a British thing. Now the Vox amplifiers are interesting because Jennings Musical Instrument signed a deal with Thomas Organ, and he thought they were going to buy Vox amps out of England and distribute them in the United States. But no, Thomas Organ set up their own factory, and they built solid state amps for the most part in the United States. So bands like the Beatles and the Kinks would come through and they would have Vox amps, and everybody's like, wow, those sound great. And they'd go and buy at their local music store here in the United States, and they'd find out that they had solid state amps that sounded pretty good. So British Vox are in high demand. And I'm going to show you something too here on this Vox amplifier. If we'll come up, you can see these are brass panels on this. And if you see that, or a leather strap, that is an earlier model. This is actually a candy panel, which is 61, 62, and this is an AC10, meaning it's 10 watts. These are plastic. So these are later. This is a 64 on this amplifier, and this amplifier, this 64 AC30, is amazing sounding. It runs so hot and snarly and cool. And then we have an AC50 here too. So 10, 30, 50, a AC50 is just a phenomenal sounding amp, a great bass amp. Just ask Paul McCartney. So I'm playing now through this new Nash, and Nash is making this kind of telly thing. This is a new model. Let's see, what do they call this? A T56 GT, gold top. So it's telly shaped like a 56 Les Paul with the P90s. These are Lawler P90s, and then a maple top mahogany back and sides with a bolt-on mahogany neck. This is a brand new model for them, and one of the first out of the factory, and with their two P90 pickups. Now I'm playing through this amp, and this is not on our website. And you know why? Because I'm not sure I want to sell it. There. Come in and try it out. This 62 AC10 twin with two original speakers. These are just 10 watts, so rather low wattage, but sounding amp. It's got snarl, it's got clean, and this AC30 even more so. This has got all the thump and bottom end. Because it has more power tubes, just like my little bottle demonstration, it gives you more bottom end and more thunk to it, where this is just a really nice 10-watt amp that a guy could use in the studio. And I'm going to dime this a little bit and turn it up. You can hear that through that camera and a little tiny microphone, but that amp rules, and I will plug this in on another video. But we do have 3 Vox amplifiers. They all are British made amplifiers. Vox amplifiers run a little hot. They're a little temperamental. For those of you that do cars, it's a little like British cars. You always joke they blow a little smoke in your face and they run kind of hot. So do Vox amplifiers. But that is part of what makes them sound so good. So they need a little more care. They need to have their power tubes replaced more often because they're type A, not that teeter-totter thing. All the tubes are on all the time, and that's what makes it so that. All right, so our next video is going to be on some Fender amps that we got here, but this AC30 1964 is $4,000, and it's a brilliant amplifier. So there you go. That's the end of our Vox video. Stay tuned for more.